So that'll be
Okay.
an interesting show, and maybe it's the beginning of our foray into a show with blockchain people talking about normal things, right? Unblockchain things. So let's see here. Theme of the week this week: Santa's naughty and nice list on a blockchain, nominated again by IM4AM. He's just hitting on all cylinders. IM4AM. We need to probably have him on the show sometime, right?
That would be great.
Yeah. I think he was traveling, but if you're listening, I am, feel free to, I don't know if you have the link, but feel free to come on the show, and we'll just bring on right now to answer some of these same questions. So, I think we've refreshed. So let's go to the very first question that we have, and I'm going to expand this so I can read it. But it's mine. I don't know if I get credit for this. It's not really a question. I'm okay if I don't get credit either way. But I wanted to at least bring this up because I thought this is kind of
this was like the whole outline for the show.
Yeah. So this is kind of like what I would suggest we do.
It is.
Right? Like in terms of, I think we answered the topic, which is, the general, but so I don't know how you guys want to do it. There are only three of us. So, and if Greg comes in, we'll backtrack and make sure we get his answers on these too. I would suggest that for the predictions, especially, and maybe for the resolutions, we should probably, if possible, go in and put this on chain. So that we can have, because put it on DIN, it's on chain. You could alternatively put it on Eternal and keep it private if you wanted, but we're going to be hopefully talking about them here in a minute. So I don't know how you guys want to do it. I say we just take turns going through these. So maybe we go through all of our answers, and then we go through people in the chat. So if you can answer this in the chat, we'll go back through and get your answer to each of these also. Is that good? Because that would be kind of a round way to do it. So
however you want to do it, Joe, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So we have two of us. Even if Sean has abstained from the vote. Okay. So let's see here. New Year's resolution. What, Sean? I'm going to start with you. What is or are your New Year's resolutions?
To not have New Year's resolutions.
Okay. You want to make one just for this?
I know because now I break my freaking resolution. I don't know, man. We always seem to forget them. It's like I don't know. We're really weird as a species. Everyone's like, why can't we just have Christmas all the time and this brotherly love and caring? And it's such a different time of year, and everyone's so different with each other. And then January 10th, we're like, God, it's cold. Life sucks. Oh, it's so bleak. It's and it's resolutions are pretty much the same. I don't know. Just try to, if you do something for a year, I think resolutions also give us permission, like in October, to whatever I need to do. I'm gonna start next year though. I'm gonna, I think that's actually a bad thing now.
Do people even remember their resolution by October?
No, but whatever they don't like, whatever the resolution is going to be, it's like, man, Sodom and Gomorrah for whatever this is. I do, whether it's eating bad or not exercise, whatever. I don't care anymore. It's the holidays, happy Halloween.
There's actually, there's we have some people of another culture that live next door to us, and one of their holidays is that because they abstained all day during the daylight, then they get crazy at night, because then they're allowed to do all those things because they didn't do it during the daylight or something. And so we got lights flashing and things happening over there sometimes. I don't know what's going on.
It just reminds me of who said it. It's like, you're not a good person if you don't, just because you don't do violence or do bad things, if you don't have the capacity to. You know what I mean? It's like someone's not strong, someone's not a good person if they don't do something just because of the law, or just because they can't do it. But if they can and they control that and they don't do it, that's what makes them, a good person. So people that are just like, because of a rule or because of something, it's like, we won't do it now. But then, the purge, You know, I think like The Purge is a perfect example of how how terrible people really are. If they, the only thing that keeps them in check is fear or whatever.
Yeah, the law, the rules.
Yeah, rather than just.
Because I was going to say,
But
does
anarchy can't work right
that
now.
being good or bad, does that extend to, are you also maybe a bad person if you're capable of doing something good and you don't?
Well, no, I forget what that debate is. That is a whole school of thought.
Yes.
That you are just that's dude.
I subscribe to that.
Huge thing in the 70s. This professor put this paper out that you're evil if you don't give to charity.
If you're capable of helping,
if you're capable of helping,
I don't know about giving to charity, but
if you don't, then, and I believe that to a certain extent, because like I'm harder on myself and other, like, because someone will say, "Oh, you did all you can." I was like, "No, I didn't." Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. That's the difference
like,
in my opinion.
Crazy that you would do that. I said it might be crazy, but I could have done it. So I could have done more. So
they could have done more as a question, because that's an active versus passive. I think the thing that I would say is evil is if you are there and through lack of courage you don't do what you know you should do. That's evil, right? I think if it's like
that's part of the argument. That's part of the argument. It's like, yes, I know there's a kid starving in Africa, but I'm not there. I don't see him. If I put it out of sight, out of mind, and he's like, that's evil because you're tricking yourself.
Yeah,
you know it's happening. You know it's there.
If that's the case, then everybody's evil, because there's no way you can.
That's what this professor said. Everyone actually is super evil, and these are the ways we make ourselves feel like we're not.
Yeah. Well, and they put constructs in like voting and things like that. There's like, oh, I voted, so therefore I voted the right way, right? But it's like that's controlled, so it's not really that's not really something that weighs in on whether you're good or evil. Anyway, so Lisa. So okay, Sean does not have any more. Is your resolution?
I think your resolution should be to just be a good person all the time.
There you go.
That's your resolution.
The person you can. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh man, when you were talking about it, I was like, I'm not one to make resolutions. Like, it always frustrated me when I don't work out anymore. But back in the day when I did, it would make me crazy that every January, all these people would show up at the gym and I couldn't get on the equipment that I wanted and all that. But I knew that by, the end of January, certainly by the end of February, they'd be gone. So really didn't need to worry about it. So to make like a resolution, I don't know that I would, I think people want to look at like what they're struggling with in their life. And then people are looking for like the reason for resolution, in my opinion, is like, okay, it's an opportunity for a new start. Well, we all need a new start right now. I think America sure needs a new start. A lot of the countries right now are looking for a new start. I don't know that we could all decide to jump in the boat together and do a new start at the same time. That would be great. I think we're starting to see some of that, but we can get into that in current events.
There you go.
A little Jonathan moment there.
So do you have one then?
I don't really have one. I'm sorry. I really am just not a resolution person, because I try to do my best every day. And I know I fail a lot. My children will let you know that. But I'm not a resolution person.
Okay.
Are you a resolution person, Joe?
Are resolutions as big a deal as they used to be?
No, but I looked
no one keeps their word anymore.
Brain, I just popped it up. Sorry, I was typing if it's loud when you were talking there. But so, and this is the first Google result, so it's probably sponsored or it's probably paid off by the freaking cartel somewhere. But historically, the first recorded people to have set New Year's pledges, later to become known as resolutions, are ancient Babylonians some 4,000 years ago. Also, the first civilization to hold recorded celebrations in honor of the New Year. And it's probably why they failed too, because they invented the New Year's resolutions. So anyway, I always saw it as something that everybody failed at as adults. It's like I just saw it even on they always they have New Year's resolutions. So celebrities on TV when I was a kid and stuff. I remember an equivalent of growing up and going to a Catholic school and having to say what you're going to give up for Lent. It was very similar.
Yes.
And I saw how often that was really not maintained. It's like, oh, humans are pretty weak, right? And it's like, oh, if you give up candy, it's pretty easy if you're a kid in the Midwest in the 80s or 70s that you just don't have access to it. So it's like it was easy to give it up, I guess. Anyway, stuff like that. But I'm gonna try to write something every week or at least a couple times a month. That's something I know I should be doing, but I'm usually don't set my priorities right. So if anything, that would be my resolution. I have no idea. I've never ever made a resolution, a New Year's resolution. So we'll see.
So where can we hold you accountable and wait for you to eat?
On Den, probably. My thought was, because I didn't start as a New Year's resolution until this show, right? But it turned out it's like, okay, I should be doing this, and I should be just getting into the practice of it, and I should be, writing something about blockchain or its applications or the stuff we talk about here, and then I think to find a place for it that it fits on Den, right? That I can post it there. It'll be on chain for posterity, and then I can just post it on X. Should I start calling it X? Maybe I can. Can we have a resolution to start calling it X?
I'm not going to call it X.
I'm
That's
not.
my New Year's resolution.
There you go.
There you go.
Always call it Twitter
or Twitter X.
We should do that because when we have conversations, I will start to only call it X. You will never call it X, and we can still get along. There you go. Okay, so that's the first question. So now we're gonna go back. Okay, so Therend 1984.
The Rand.
The Rand. Thank you. Jeez, I got it. Boston is here. Let's see here. Metals dealer. People need to pay attention to metals these days. If dealing with the banks, you should always worry.
The post office is paying attention to it.
Yes. And by the way, I'm annoyed that our layout covers whoever's on the bottom.
It's okay. I can peek over.
There you go. The last New Year's was 20 years ago. Never make a resolution again. That's smart. That was my attitude. I've never been forced to make one. So I just see everybody else fail. And I always think it's ridiculous. It's the holidays. I sold 15 days ago. That should be able to come up with, okay. Oh, see, I tell you,
using moneymetals.com and using the code Sean, you get free silver. They said
or you can contact Andy at milesfranklin.com and tell them like when Lisa sent you.
There you go. See, you guys are hooked up. I have no attached. I'm poison. They will not even talk to me. Any of these people.
Money Metals, they've never. It's always like ridiculously fast.
I have noticed that. And this is the case with anything related to the banks. And when you, you're always screwed by the holding of the money. It's the freaking money holders that it's like, oh, it's going to be 5 days to clear, business days, and that's a holiday. And oh, sorry, yeah, it's supposed to come in this Friday, but
it's like musical
it came
chair.
in after the wire cut off. So yes, it did come in on Friday, but you can't access it until Monday. And then on the other side is like, oh, you can't access that yet because that's new money. We have to make sure that it clears. I'm like, what the hell did I wait all those days for? It hasn't already cleared. It's the banks. The banks. You can go further now if you want. I'm not going to go live. They're evil. So anyway, if you know to do good and do it not, it is a sin. There you go. And I still apply that to your context because when that was written, people didn't know that there were people on another continent starving. Now if you travel to that other continent and you see someone starving and you're working for the New York Times or some other similar, and you're taking a picture of them and not giving them the freaking sandwich in your bag or not, doing what you need to do, that's the issue, right? So,
you saw it everywhere in the world now, and there's like 19 people filming someone getting the crap beat out of them.
And
no joke. That's the other side of it, man.
Take the time to educate yourself if you're going to give, because there's a book called When Helping Hurts. And it was written by this pastor that he was doing like international ministry and all this. And he watched the, what did they call it? Mission, they called it like mission trade, or anyway, it ended up being like a whole industry where like the church gets painted every week because we got a new set of kids coming in and their parents all chipped in and making a donation to the church, and they keep orphans in an orphan situation. They'll even have kids like that have parents in the village come stay in the orphanage for the whatever, so that people have little kids to look at and who knows what else. But
raise money at least. I mean,
yeah,
in
at least
the
raise money and
least evil side, it's so
yes.
that they can use them as numbers.
Yes, and so you really have to, like, if you're not really engaged in a relationship with who you are giving to, then just
Yeah.
sometimes you're enabling bad things,
Well,
and
that's
that's
like a blockchain conversation for charity. Most people never,
Yes.
that
like,
would be great.
till I was an older person, like people just gave money and that was all, and they're like, oh, that Goodwill does what? Oh,
Red Cross
the Red Cross, they spend what they want. They all went
did
to
what in
Hawaii,
Haiti?
but they're nonprofit. Oh, not for
Mhm.
profit. How does that work? They just got to spend it. They're all driving $100,000 cars. Wait a minute. So yeah, you really got to.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't forget about what they do with children after storms. Anyway,
Man. Well, and I'll say, because I'm reading this, so the James 4:17. So, and I have no idea translation or any of this, right? But remember, it is a sin to know what you ought to do and then not to do it. In fact, if you know the right thing to do and don't do it, for you, it's evil. And then the third translation is, so for the person who knows to do good and doesn't do it, it is a sin. And I think, here's something to look at. And, we apply this to the blockchain world and, non-religious, but just as humans, everybody knows what's going on. And yet most people in the blockchain world are only supporting their own bags. They're only supporting the projects that they care about or that they're, tied to for whatever reason. And they're half the time wishing evil upon the other projects in the hopes that that gives them a leg up. And you can look at what Bitcoin people did to all the projects, and I'm saying like certain not all maximalists. You look at what Ether people have done, both inside of Ethereum Foundation. You look at Lubin, what he is alleged to have done from pretty good sources, and then you look at even some of the the guys that everybody looks up to in the world of Maximal, that post a lot on Reddit and everything else. They might not be, and I think it's I don't know how you describe it, but it's almost like you need a D&D style, passive evil versus active evil. Because I've joked, and I do really believe that the lawyers, and I'm not every lawyer, obviously, but lawyers generally to a person are active evil. They're actively doing bad things for their clients and or for other who knows what. Whereas accountants are more likely to be passive evil, that they don't intend to do evil, but some people might not even consider it evil. But when you find a way to make the food cheaper, and it might lead to cancer for a bunch of kids in 40 years. That's evil, but they're doing things. They're bean counters, right?
It's funny you mentioned D&D, because I remember being a kid and realizing what like most evil was, and how, because you could look at like a lawful evil person, and there's not much difference between a lawful good person. They're supposed to be completely opposite, but they're not. They're like, I do evil because of order. Like the whole empire in Star Wars, it's very lawful evil. But they're not bad. They just want complete order. And complete order comes from total control. And then you've got the opposite, where if you sin, if you do anything wrong, they'll kill you, because you have to be lawful. Good is the law. But the worst evil is neutral evil, because you just don't care about anything. You're completely neutral to it. You have apathetic, but you lean towards evil. That's the worst that you could be,
Yeah. That's the truth. I think lawful is the side, and lawful anything is going to be evil. So anyway, and when I say that, it's odd, because it's not like, oh, I'm following, I'm paying attention to the speed limit, stopping at red lights, and I'm doing the things that normal people do. It's that you're sitting there and you're seeing somebody is being harassed, and you just videotape it because it's funny, or I'm gonna get a bunch of views off of this,
Yeah.
instead of going in there and
Jumping in there,
stopping
yeah.
it, or
People will like me
something.
more because I got this. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the thing where my mom, I was older and we were watching that. And maybe I talked about it on this show or talked about it with Sean one time, where we are watching this Jodie Foster movie where she was getting like raped on a pinball machine or something. And my mom was like, that guy should have flipped on the lights, ripped the the jukebox out of the wall, turned on the lights, and that would have stopped. Like, instead it was like the mood and the environment, and then people just walking by and ignoring what was happening made it okay. And I think we do that a lot in society. Well, they shouldn't have been over there, or that's a dark alley, or that's none of my business, but when we see something like that, we should like put a light on it and turn off the music and say something loud about what's going on. And I think there's a lot of people trying to do that. But then we face all the censorship and all that. And to me, like, I know a lot of people are seeing that as a badge of honor to keep trying, and keep saying the things, but you're trying to balance it too. Okay, well, I know I can say a little bit more this way, or I can have like, hey, have a presence in this one environment, try to reach a lot of people, and then say, hey, I can talk more freely over here. And that is a crazy place that we live like that in America right now. I just saw a thing on Twitter. I think I posted in the Wbrt that there was a letter that the head of finance in the Senate sent to the AG asking to relieve the gag order that the United States government has put on Apple and Google, and that takes care of Android and Apple's, right? Because what they do is all governments, they don't take the push notifications from your phone or from you, but they go through a cloud server. And so they have subpoenaed, I guess, all this cloud server information, but the government put a gag order on Google and Apple to not talk about it. And so they told finance committee they're not allowed to talk about it because the government has a gag order on them. So now they're trying to get that released. Like, wake up, people.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's
We're
real
bad
bad.
place
The
right
worst
now.
I heard, and I can't. It's weird for me, especially compared to y'all. You grew up in the Midwest. You grew up in the South. I was born in an Italian family in Jersey. So that whole "hey, it's none of your business," it's a very mafia culture. I mean, that's how we were raised, and it's like you help your friend or your family or people you know, but if you don't know, don't mess with it. It's not your business. You don't know, and that spread so much. And it was a couple of years ago on a New York City subway that was full. It wasn't like there's no one on it. There was like 20 people in the car. A guy beat and raped this woman.
Oh my
No
God.
one got up. No one filmed it, but also no one called 911. Or that someone did and the police didn't come. Like the woman had to go to the police, and then the press got a hold of it, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, everyone's so terrible. How could this happen?" And it was like 20 some people just sat there. It's none of my business. And it wasn't just groping. This guy beat this woman and raped her, like violently, on this New York subway train. And I was like, "Oh, that's unbelievable." And then he's like, "Oh, it never happened in Texas." He'd be beating everyone would beat the crap out of him. Which I think is still good that there's places like that. My son, they go to Vietnam for like a month or two every 2 years, but my son, like the first time they went to Thailand, and they went to like one of the second big cities, and he's walking around with this the family that he goes with, and there was this like 60-year-old dude like open mouth kissing this 12-year-old on the side of the street, and it's like they like that in Thailand, and he was like he was commenting on the differences, and he's like, "Oh yeah, see that?" in Texas, we can kill him on the street. He said, anything with the binder, you can kill the guy. He's like, that dude be dead right now. It's like, everyone will be armed. I'd be armed. You shoot him. He was, he's a very big, imposing guy. So he's like right walking, by the guy. He's like, yeah, we kill him. We would shoot this guy right here.
Huh.
Yeah, very different.
Man. Yeah, they had, you look up Caesar Augustus. There's a prisoner who, this happened to his sister. They didn't do anything. So he went and killed the guy. So they put him in prison for life. And since he's been in prison, he's killed, I think, 3 or 4 pedophiles.
Yeah.
And he's told the judge, like, yeah, I'm here for life. That's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
Right. Well, and they renamed himself Caesar Augustus. And I'm like, wow, this guy, we should let this guy out. On
our show last week, me and Lisa were talking about that guy in New York again, where bodega was being robbed. Remember, and he shot the guy to defend himself.
Yeah.
And they arrested him.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, you care more about your shop, your stuff than you do a person's life, and people are trying to take away your right to defend yourself. But it was like he's 1,000% in the right, and it's become now. I mean, it's now people don't defend each other.
It's upside down. It's clown world. Everything is messed up, so on. And I was going to note until it got very dark there, Sean, that I wanted to know what age you were when you learned and you first had to pump your own gas, since you grew up in New Jersey.
It was like a treat. Like you'd have to ask.
I know. I drove up once. One of our kids was at some music camp in Maine, and so we had to drive up through, and we went through New Jersey. And I pulled over and get out of the car, and I'm running out of gas. I'm pumping gas. And I was like, "Oh, whoa! What are you doing there?" Right?
Yeah.
And
I don't know what you're doing.
And it was so funny too, because the only time it happened before, every time I bring up, it's so interesting, the different cultures, even in the U.S. that we were driving through. We had gone to see some falls or something somewhere in the Appalachians, and I was running out of gas, and like all the kids and everything else with me, I was like, I'm sweating because I'm running out of gas. I have no idea where all these windy roads when the next gas station is going to appear. And luckily on Fumes, I found one, and big on the side, it was Billy Oil. And that was I like get out, and he's like, whoa, wait, I'm gonna pump your gas here, right? It's just so funny.
I do remember
my job.
I think the last time I was up there, they did have like a self-service one, but it wasn't any cheaper. It wasn't like a nickel cheaper or whatever. Just
because the money goes to the
there's a lot to go through there too. Because speaking of which, cheaper with the service or not, all of the grocery stores now are self-checkout, right? I mean, there's like maybe one aisle that for the old ladies to go through who want the old way. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting that I've seen posts where sometimes now it's popping up asking for if you want to leave a tip. You're like, I just think it's the most hilarious thing in the world.
Leave a tip at the grocery store?
Who am I leaving a tip to? To the machine? I don't know. I would think that the tip should go to me since I'm doing that work. And sure, I'll give myself $5.
I've seen the memes and the posts where it's like where you're walking out and I'm not stopping for the checker. I'll just I hold my receipt.
That's just real life for us. My husband got so pissed off.
If you're gonna trust me to do to shop and to scan everything, don't treat me like a criminal and walking out and be like, hey, let's check your work.
Well, they don't stop the criminal. They don't stop the guys carrying out big trash bags full of whatever. If you watch the the videos in what is that in California and wherever, as long as it's under $900 or whatever, they're like robbing stores and whatever, and just letting them go out the door.
It's a weird.
Then I'm at Walmart with 2 things of beer or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, ma'am, I need to see your receipt." My husband was like, "Up yours, buddy. Yeah. You should come over to help me at the checkout."
But that
make them carry them.
Remember, I told you what that did for me when I was in the hospital. It affected me, and everyone, nobody cares. It's like, oh, I don't care about politics. I don't care about whatever. It doesn't affect me. Mm-hmm. But I was in the hospital, and my my charger cord broke, and I was in like Austin, the hospital there. So like my kids couldn't bring me one for days. I'm not watching TV. It was a horrible experience. It's like PTSD bad experience. I watch regular TV. The commercials about drugs and everything. It's so bad. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch Star Trek on my phone. What am I going to do? So I was like, oh, I know. I'm going to order from DoorDash something from like Walgreens or like the dollar store, and I'll buy a cord and they'll be here in like 30 minutes. So they didn't have to make like a certain amount of money order. So I'm ordering like chips and like crap, and just to make it like $25. And it was a bit of a pain in the butt because it was like later, so the hospital parts were closed. But the guy comes, drops it off, and I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. I really need all this. Just he needed my cord, the charger cord." And then he walks out, and there's no charger cord. So I just had a bunch of like chips and crap. And so I called him like right away before it comes off my phone. He's like he comes back. I said, "Where's my charger cord, man? It's the whole reason I made this. I told you that." He's like, "Oh yeah, you can't access those when you go in the store. They're behind glass, and they have to come and get it, and they don't even give it to you. They come and get it and hold stuff at the register. So you have to wait till you go up to check out, and then they have it. And the woman forgot to ring it up. And for DoorDash, they give us a card that we pay for the stuff with, and we only can pay one time, so we can't have a second ring up. So I couldn't get it. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So I got like 3 sodas or 3 green teas and some chips. It's like I still don't have a charger. Yeah. So because of all the crap in California and all that, now in the chain places like Walgreens and Dollar Store, all those, like those electronics or anything like that, it's all behind glass. Everyone here is treated as a criminal.
And they're starting to close some of the stores. I know this morning, I forgot my reading glasses, and we were going to a sale, and I was like, "Oh no!" So my husband's like, "Don't worry, there's a CVS or Walgreens like just half a mile from here." So I jumped in the car. He stayed in line so I could get this, and then I ran up there. The CVS is closed, and there's a big sign on the Walgreens that says closing as of January 10th. Get a copy of your written prescription here, or have it transferred before January 10th. So like that's no other pharmacy in the area, like both corners. What's going on here? And it was in a not nice part of town. So I think
I remember like a couple of years ago when the country was burning for St. Floyd and everything else, everyone was destroying their own communities, and we're like, why are they not doing anything? Why is this being allowed? And I think it's because of that. Because there's nothing.
That was part of BLM being able to come in.
No, but I think a part of the
bigger buy up land.
I think part of the bigger plan is to totally isolate those people. To where,
it's the same thing happened during the Tulsa race riots. The same thing happened when LA burned. They did that on purpose to let the community eat themselves, destroy the land, and then the big companies come in and buy up that cheap land after it's destroyed.
Same thing in Hawaii. I guess same thing in yeah. It's because BlackRock. What's the percentage of property they own now?
It's insane. I mean, I had a thing that showed what all they owned. They own everything, mostly.
I know they like all the equities on Wall Street. They own a ton, and they did that to prop it up because they funneled trillions in. I don't understand all that stuff, but I've read some posts that clearly know what's going on, but it's where the what is it? The 4 banks that own the Federal Reserve, that they essentially pump money into certain places to, and they just like, oh, it's national security reasons. We can't let the stock market crash.
We can't tell you. Too stupid.
Let's see here. I don't know if this is true. I didn't say Blackstone. I said BlackRock. Google. Man, I should be using here. What should I use? The index or something?
I don't know. I'm not sure where you're going.
That's the one that's at least. Well, it's like let's see here.
I had my little infographic that.
Let's see if I can find it.
My own.
real estate assets for BlackRock, 60 billion worldwide. I don't know if that's up to date or not, but I don't know. I've just heard that it's a significant portion is owned by, and maybe not BlackRock directly, but maybe it's other similar entities. They bought up a ton of cheap property. And I knew from when we lived in East Coast that there would be poor areas that they would essentially invent this. Oh, we're going to build this highway and this bridge, and that everybody who was in the know, the congressperson, literally who represented that district, would be one of the would have ownership in the group going up and buying all of these properties for nothing right before it was announced where the road was going to be. And so these poor families selling off their home that their families owned for however many generations for nothing, only to see it quadruple or have a 10x because they're going to pay for it with put a highway. And it was literally by the congressman who represented the district. It's disgusting, right? That's who represents you. People who will do that to you and your family, and the poorest people there are. They don't want you to be rich.
Well, at least it's fixed, and the guy went to prison.
Yeah, that's true. It's not true. Okay, so let's go. Next segment, right?
Right.
Each host and guest to provide a top winner and loser for 2023. So in the comments right now, go ahead and throw in top winner, top loser, one or both, if you can, in the comments, and we'll go through them after. So first, Lisa, top winner 2020.
Winner
one at a time. Top winner 2023.
Oh man. Of blockchain projects.
No, it could be anything. I mean, you could say blockchain. You could give a winner blockchain, winner
blockchain and crypto. Yeah,
blockchain and cryptos. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I think that's been a hard road for everybody this year. Well, I guess XRP, because they beat the SEC.
That's top winner. That's a good one. That's actually
I would say that's a win, and I'm not a huge fan of XRP or Ripple, not XRP. They're two separate things.
Actually, Ripple is probably the bigger winner than XRP, right?
Yeah,
XRP
because Brad Garlinghouse has said that he's not beholden to the token, and that the company is separate from the token. So
and the interesting thing is, he was our current law and regulations and the clear guidance that we have is that although he might want to make, I think if the SEC didn't exist, they would probably want to make XRP something that they really do honor the value of, and we're going to, but they can't, because that would make it a different classification, and they can't do that. So it's pretty disgusting how that works, and it's intentional.
Yeah, I mean, and not them. I'm not accusing them specifically, but it's interesting to see how through these cases, watching not just in crypto, but like in the political realms and all that, watching these cases, watching the court system get used to manipulated to manipulate or create an outcome that it was like, is that an honest outcome, or was that like a situation created to create a law through the court system instead of through the proper channels that it was supposed to go through Congress and by we the people?
Yeah,
that's the part I have a hard time.
And by the way, I want to add in something interesting that with that, if they really, and it might not be in the realm of possibility, and they definitely would be advised against it, as they were what they already did. Their lawyers almost certainly advised them against what they did and how they won. But they did. And what they should do, and I have no contact with them, though I've tried to reach out and try to get in contact with them just to see if they could help us, if we could help them. But because we should be teaming up, frankly. But And he is Garlinghouse is a fellow Kansan. I think he was, he's from
really?
Topeka, I believe. So, and all indications are he's a good guy, but they should go sue the government for the fact that it's in their business interest. Their better model would be that they don't have to do that and say, well, that token is nothing to us. If they could actually use the token as it was likely intended, if they could actually do what would be best for those very people, they should sue them for that, because essentially the current regulations keep them from doing what everyone knows the vision was, and everyone knows what they should be doing, but they can't. And you can't blame them for it. But, and this might fall into the realm of they know what they could do that's good, but it might be difficult and it might be expensive, as what they did already. But frankly, they would go from being a multi-billion-dollar company to a trillion-dollar company easily if they could do that. And I think it's well within the realm of possibility to win that, because it's so freaking obvious. Everything is pushing that way. Sean has always talked recently about, in fact, you're in that case about the accredited investor thing. The entire house of cards is going to fall down. That's a different segment. So anyway, so Sean,
I hope so.
Sean. Like I always make a big deal out of language. Like you have the Democratic Party, the Democratic senator, the Democratic. It's like that's Democrat. It's everything's like that. And things change over time. And I was thinking about, because with the SEC thing, I found myself saying, the accredited investor law, and with the ATF, this law, and it's not. There's not laws. There's certain things that are technically laws that we don't even call laws because we're not going to allow it. Like in my town, if I'll do the funny one.
Oh, here he goes again.
If you fart
joke,
you can get arrested. You can get a ticket.
Really?
Right? Because my friend did. It's not. There's no law to get fart.
Really?
But my friend we were like, teenagers at the hangout. There's cops that would be in front of the hangout, and they said something to him, and he went, and they arrested him under the city ordinance of emitting a foul odor, which is for like people that don't clean trash from their yard or whatever. So, but that's not. It's a law, but it's a city ordinance, and we call it a city ordinance. When you go into like any corporation, you can't do that. Why? It's against our policy. You're not going to say it's a law. It's not a law.
Well, that was all the great infection stuff.
The SEC
None of that was
and all these other, they're not Congress. They don't pass laws. They make rules. But when there's a rule that you can go to jail for, you kind of think it's the law. You know what I mean? It looks like a law. It smells like a law, but it really shouldn't be. It's just an interpretation. But technically, it's an interpretation of a law, but it's a rule. And I think we need to start calling, things what they are, and take away some of the power that a lot of these agencies think that they wield, but they don't. They're just like you said, bee counters. Here's we make the law. You guys are just supposed to help us enforce it, and then you worry about all the technicality crap. So we don't have to. It's I don't know why I started on that.
I'm looking for it. I probably am not going to find it. I just saw this clip where it's an arranged thing, and it starts and ends with McAfee talking, and he goes through that, and he's like, that the regulators create 10 times more laws than the actual lawmakers, and they interpret, and they do a lot of things. They go way, you look at the SEC, they've obviously overstepped the bounds of the law. They've reinterpreted this 1930s law about peach orchards to mesh up with utility tokens, because the banks want them to. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you look at it, it's like we created this agency to help these people and to do this and to safeguard this. Now we're going to give power-hungry people some power, and then have them do it. And that's the worst thing. None of them was elected. None of them were, voted in by the people. and they're literally power hungry people who that's what they want. And then they bring them in and they say, here's some power. I'm sure you won't abuse it. I'm sure you won't go crazy with it, and that's why we have what we have today. It's like, how can we get as much power? Here's the law.
Well, and also throws off the responsibility.
How can we get as much power as we can out of this law?
Yeah, because then they don't have the weight of those decisions on them when they go back to their constituents. They say, "Oh, well, we didn't do that. The SEC did it." They make those rules. They're enforcing those rules. That's a way for these politicians to not have to be held accountable by engaging this third party, and by that they're stepping off their responsibility. Would you say, Tom?
Every time you add a middleman, it's things you're gonna get.
Danger. Somebody gets hurt.
Yep. Okay. So that was top. Do you have a top winner, Sean?
I'd say SEC or
Did Joe say one?
Not yet.
Joe did not.
Okay.
I would say same XRP for all they've done. I think the big losers is NFTs overall. It was really, this year was kind of when all the normies that were starting to get into stuff, just like, no, this is, this literally is tulips. This is Beanie Babies. This everything that we've fought against all this forever. Like the NFT space kind of said, they're right. Here it is.
Yep. So for me, I think top winner would be evil or Satan or whatever you would counter for that. That organization. Yeah. Geez, yeah. I would say in the past few years, Moloch has gained quite a bit. I mean, I didn't even know what the hell that was until and it's odd, isn't it, that Assange is still in prison? He's the one that exposed to everyone's like what that is. And the biggest loser is probably crypto in whole, or maybe you could say utility in crypto. That as a whole, everything has been converted to, it's just a thing that you trade because it's freaking Wall Street for little kids. That's all crypto is now.
Well, I think the biggest losers, the children and we the people.
Well, there you go.
If you had to pick a biggest loser, that's.
Yep. So let's go through here. Let's see what other people said. Okay, podcast winner, Lisa.
Oh, thank you.
I like it. By the way, I will say in the past many months, before this never popped up, but your guys' notifications for the show that you guys do together actually shows up on my phone. So I actually know when it is, and I actually, watch it. And so before that never happened. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Right. And cause I always had it marked, but for some reason it never popped. Bidow, what would you?
Bidow.
What is
well,
Bidow?
We can't even pronounce it. So that probably is why he's saying it did not make it.
Life. Maybe winner, maybe loser. I don't know. Let's see here. Theta and all the sub chains. And I did say winner, so maybe that's what everyone was posting for. You feel free to now post your losers as well. I don't know. Let's see here. What else have? Top winner, Injective, price wise. Number go up. I mean, that is something, right? It depends on what you value. So the interesting thing that I was hoping for early in the crypto world, I will say, is not what we got. And I should have been smart enough to know that, being as it is people, but that the whole number go up thing should have been a tool. It should have been, a way to say, okay, this is, and I think it still will be, but there's too much purposeful manipulation of that, and not just, they're manipulating the price. Obviously they are, or they will, whatever. But it's more confusion. And it's the same thing we see in media. It's the same thing when you're trying to figure out who to vote for or what movie to watch, that it's all a freaking game. You look at the Marvel versus DC world. I noticed when I was at Disney, it's so odd that the crappiest Marvel movie will still be raved by the critics, whereas the best DC movie they'll call out. It's like, would it really be possible for Superman to be holding it's like, it's friggin', he has a fucking cape on and he's flying. So I don't know. Right. And it was odd though, because it was kind of again, Superman, another Kansan, we can claim. And so it's just a weird thing that's all manipulated. And so I had always just thought it would be amazing if you didn't have any of that, because the utility itself could be somehow valued at least partially within that number. But really it isn't, because they've effectively pushed from the SEC, from all of the other regulatory authorities, and from the freaking projects themselves, that there is no utility. Bitcoin there is no utility. It's like, isn't it cash, digital? It's like, no, it's digital gold and you hold it. It's like, but what if it costs me, I only have a 0.0001 Bitcoin and it's going to cost too much to sell it so I can actually use it. It's like, that's not what it's for. It's like, it's just to hold, I guess. It's to hold and to put laser eyes on your Twitter avatar. That's what Bitcoin's for. So anyway,
I think Hong Kong thinks there's something to it, because, not to get into current events too much, but just a little bit, the financial regulator have published guidelines for approval of both in-kind and cash creates spot Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong.
Wow. Now that's
Big
interesting.
deal.
But see, ETFs, in my opinion, are dangerous.
I
Just like
agree.
every other.
I agree with
Yeah.
you. I think
It's going to be
a slippery
paper,
slope.
because that's what they do. You're like, oh, what does Wall
Mhm.
Street do?
That's
they
the
make
derivative.
paper
Yeah.
things so that they can profit and you can't, and you can pretend like you do. You might get your 5% per year, yay! But guess what they're getting? They're getting more gold. So anyway, this is a good one. Mr. Level Up says USA. Not even funny. I
That's
mean, it is funny,
sad.
but it's not even funny.
That's really
It's true.
sad.
It is the truth. It's like, you look at me. We made the American blockchain, and I'm going to move it out of the country because
Oh
this
my
is
God.
absolutely ridiculous. So,
we used to be, because we've lost everything everywhere across the board. We used to lose, piss people off, but then we'd win with like another half of the world, or we'd win somewhere. Like we would, it was because we did this. We made these people happy, these allies happy. Everything over here got stronger. Everything over here got weaker. We look like crap. Can't go to this country over here. These people are pissed. Whatever. But now it's like literally across the board. Like no one's happy.
I wish I had my memes ready. I have a perfect answer meme for that, where it's, anyway, in the past versus today, and it's the Chad talking to an Iranian, saying the U.S. is illegal, or is the Great Satan, and saying screw you, and then this year the same thing. It's like, yes. It's like, yeah, true.
Sad.
Anyway, let's see here. Oh, but G Chin wants a hug. I don't know what who promised that, but yes, Mr. Level Up sucks in USA. Let's see here. What the apes are gone? What's that mean? Is that the
Bored apes?
NFTs?
Bored apes, yeah, you know about them?
No, I haven't paid attention to that.
Are you
What
kidding?
happened? No.
It's massively racist. Nazis behind it. Everything's symbolism of Nazism and Hitler.
Wait, since the beginning or not?
Yeah, since the beginning.
Really?
It's all a big troll. I'll send you the documentary, but it is jaw-droppingly crazy.
Really?
And in the beginning of it, they say, hey, when someone tells you something and you're like, yeah, but I can see that, but it's a stretch. Yeah, I can see that, but it's kind of circumstantial. Yeah, I can see that, but he's like, how many of those does it take until you believe it? Is it 4? Is it 12? Is it 65?
So these are like super rare portions would be the more Nazi stuff would be in the super rares, or what?
Some of them, no, because a lot of the people, like, their name choices and their avatars are like deep cut Nazi names and like authors.
Yeah. I could see that being just internet stuff, though. Kids.
Yeah, that's the thing. And they're like, people say it's just internet stuff, it's just troll stuff, and like the whole thing is a troll thing. The whole plan was like, hey, how can we just put Nazism into the mainstream?
So how did it affect their price? Since that's how everything's judged.
It hurt pretty bad.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. We know some people that were in that. I never was, because I just thought it was like the newer version of the CryptoPunks, which I also thought was ridiculous. So it's like, okay, whatever. I don't know. It seems like this is a great example of humanity that you're giving these tools to do good things with. You're giving these tools, it's like, oh, we could solve issues with free speech. We could, we could use these as tools to defend ourselves against the great evils of the world, right? And instead, what do? We mark JPEGs. We put them up so that you can effectively trade JPEGs. There's nothing deterministic about them.
Back and you look at it and you're like, maybe that was by design. Because when it's happening, you're like, this is stupid. And it doesn't make sense. Like everything's burning. Why is this happening? Why isn't anyone doing anything? And then later on, you're like, oh, look, now they're buying it for real estate. Now these people have no dollar store to go to buy, ramen noodles. They have they're completely isolated. So it's like, I think they saw, you could say they saw the coming storm and the technology and how people could use it. So they want to kill it. And now it's as soon as people hear NFTs, like, oh, that's stupid stuff. I don't want to, buy a JPEG or whatever. It's like, no. It's 10 times harder to try to explain it. They can do this, do that.
What do you do? Because you can't control the narrative like that. I claim number go up. I mean, I've gone and done the research to know if I was the first person to ever use that, but we put that in there and we didn't copy it off anything, and now that's used, right? Mm-hmm. But I've not been able to effectively influence, although we've tried, any of the other narratives on here's what crypto is, here's what it can do, here's why it's significant. Instead, it's all it's the venture capitalists because they have the money. They can, and literally we know, and you guys probably know this greatly, that all of the press, right, is all just a paid, pay to play industry. It's crazy. It's like, if you want your product to be talked about anywhere, you have to budget that. It's going to cost you money. There's nothing that's organic or natural about it unless, coming out of Disney, it was interesting when we posted for an intern, we got international press in the crypto and non-crypto news. We got a bunch of stuff like that. So it's like when we came out of there, I realized, oh, okay, I get it. It doesn't matter if it's important or it's interesting. It only matters if you put money in their hands. So anyway,
well, there used to be more responsibility that broadcasters took for the money that was back in. Like, you'd have even a celebrity on a show would be like, hey, this is brought to you by these cigarettes. I like Lucky Strike because they're the best, and I wouldn't put my name on it. That was the thing. We're putting our name on this, with this product. And you've got take this vaccine, take this drug, take this drug. This drug is not that bad. There were some people died, but it was this brought to you, and then boom, the commercial comes up for Pfizer, on the network. And if you have to go and research to find out, like CNN and MSNBC, and even Fox, it was 35 or 45% of their revenue was from Pfizer alone.
Pharma.
Let alone pharmaceutical.
Watch our numbers now. Let's just watch this.
You said the P word.
We had early in our days, we had someone, that, through marketing, they were going to advertise Dragon Chain. And we're like, okay, we want to advertise what it is, what it does. It's technical. It might be boring, right? But it was a tech outfit. It wasn't like a business website or something else. They're heavily focused on startups and tech. And so we're like, okay, we'll do this. And said, okay, here's the deal. You run these ads. We'll write an article for you. We'll put you in on this conference as a speaker. I'm like, okay. It's a combo deal. I'm like, okay. So we said yes. And we went through and it never became public because they realized how bad it had looked, that when they were writing their article, it was badly written, number one, but it was totally the stupid hype stuff. And it's like, no, not at all. It's like, that's not stuff that stuff's not true. That's not what our vision is, blah, blah, blah. And like, well, we have journalistic integrity and we cannot change this art. It's like, and I said, fuck you. This was part of your damn deal. And if we can't say, at least write, I'm not going to give you something written. You write it, but it can't be that. That's trash. And then they, we went back and forth, and they finally did it. And they, about whatever, I don't remember. I don't think it was a very good article in the end anyway, but it was at least not what it was. And the advertising, I think we literally got like single or double digits of clicks, not double digit thousands. Like it was less than 100 clicks from their ads. And I said, look, if you guys, I basically, they came back, and I never paid them. Right. So we made an enemy there. That's what we do. But I don't pay people that do crap like that anyway.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
Failure.
It's
and
all, it's all
for
ridiculous.
failure.
So gaming projects doing good. NFTs, no. By Dow, okay. Let's see here. I will say 2024, Year of the Dragon. We need to pay attention to that. You guys have any ideas there? Bunch of good stuff. Let's see here. Backed. What happened to Backed? Was that how it was spelled? I remember so
no.
Yeah, so it's like, oh my God, it's gonna change everything.
Bat or backed?
Backed. Remember the thing where it was something where it was all the big banks getting together and doing something with crypto, and it never made sense to me. That whatever. Anyway, we had somebody who was even actually involved with that, but it never made sense to me. Let's see here. Biggest loser could be the smaller banks. Yes, that is true. Well, at least loser, at least in name, they're getting bought out, but all their board members and executives are getting big golden parachutes on those
big
sellouts.
payouts.
Well, a lot of those were eaten up just because that's, they're like mom and pop stores. They were the individual banks, small town banks.
X.
Yeah.
I do think X is a winner. I mean, I don't know. It's better than it was under Jack. I might not trust Elon Musk fully, but he's definitely better than Jack. And I don't even think Jack was necessarily evil. I just think he was probably high all the time and just letting
controlled.
So yeah, he's definitely a puppet. You can tell by looking at his eyes, dead eyes, right? Look at his eyes, you can tell. Sean mentioned NFTs. Disney's a huge loser this year. Huge loser. I mean, Elon Musk's calling out the CEO of Disney in his most famous declaration of the year is huge, and it's awesome. They lost a lot of power. They've already lost. I've heard the parks are not full. I'm not inside there anymore, so I don't know. But they used to brag to us on the numbers, and the numbers are crazy that they used to have, and that's what happens when you become, you go after freaking Moloch, and it's just like it's like I'm sure they can have little crazy. We won't go into that. Let's see here.
Pedo symbols on the fronts of your children's movies.
You have to pay for New York Times bestseller list. I watch Tasting History a lot because I love history, and it's super interesting to me when you taste something that people used to make thousands of years ago. We made these I made them for Christmas. These little, like, it's a weird thing, but it's something they made 2,500 years ago, this recipe. And it was very interesting, but it's totally different than today because it's like not the goy slop that you get today where it's just full of sugar and stuff. So it's super interesting. They're like, 4 ingredients or something. So stuff like, and he became a New York Times bestseller list for his cookbook, which was amazing. So I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
It's like eggnog. We're like, first off, they doubled the price of eggs again. I don't know if they did that everywhere else, but here, like in November, doubled it within a week.
Oh, really? Like leading up to Thanksgiving?
Yeah, right before Thanksgiving. And then and then eggnog was like $12 for a thing of eggnog. I made eggnog years ago, and it was good, but it wasn't like so much better. It was like fine, and it was more expensive for me to make. It was difficult, So I said, maybe it'd be cheaper for us to actually make eggnog this Christmas instead of. And then
I will tell you,
double the price of eggs. But when you look, it's like egg, sugar, and vanilla, and milk, and cream. That's it. There's like nothing in
You
it.
need bourbon. You have to have bourbon in there. If you get the what's his name? Who's the guy who was on Food Network? Shoot, he did the science one where he'd explain how the different stuff works. Brown, Alton Brown, maybe. His recipe for eggnog is amazing, really good.
You are such a tech nerd that on the Food Network,
You find the
that's
science
your
guy.
He was one of their. I
was about to just spit out 20 chefs, Mario Vitale, so many.
Oh yeah, he was good. Yeah, any of the Italians are good, but this guy was interesting because he would tell you why stuff works or whatever. But his eggnog recipe I made for years. I stopped making it because even natural eggnog is not good for you. It's just
horribly fattening.
Right. Yeah, a lot of fat. But it's way better than something you buy in a carton at the grocery store, I tell you for sure. The Goislop version of eggnog, definitely not good for you. Anyway, so you have 12 swords through the globe in the top right of the screen. This was, in fact, I think he was a Bored Apes guy, the guy that worked for us before, who was Tenacious Dragon. Awesome guy, lived in the South. I will say, I won't tell you what state he lived in, but he made that logo, and I can't remember why we did it. It was 12 because I can't remember. It was round table reference though, like the globe as a round table.
12 nights of
the 12 nights. Were there 12 nights? That must be why we had 12.
I think, yeah.
So
yeah.
And I was like,
maybe
some other symbolism or something else, but yeah, it was Knights of the Round Table reference. So if there's anything beyond that, it wasn't intentional. It's always weird when you do symbolics, like this mug. I had tons of here. I'll try to get it focused. Tons of questions about that mug, right? And why not the mug itself, but the dragon family crest, right? That's what it is. Very interesting, but all the symbolism is about liberty and goodness. So, maybe it's counter, and maybe that's why they hate me, right? Let's see here.
That's why we love you, Joe.
And I don't know, audacious, clever, and gallant, spirited young. I don't know what any of this means, but or if he's referencing one of us, or anyway. Let's see here.
I don't know.
Not fully trusting Elon. Biggest losers. Who followed Charles Ward and Associates. Do you know who that is?
Yes, he's a shill, and I think he's been taken out, but I don't know.
Oh no, there were so many in 2017, and I knew of some of them because they would reference us.
This is like a woo-woo guy that tells people that he has inside info, but he says that he was like a airline pilot guy, whatever. But then like when he's interviewing this one girl who was trafficked, she says she recognizes his voice.
Jeez.
And then he has like, he has always given me the creeps. I don't have any facts or information about him, but I think he just creepy. And he always puts like his son opening his videos, and I don't know. Strange dude. I don't know why people need to learn to trust themselves and figure out what information they lean on.
Okay. Let's see here. Mr. Level Up also had eggnog. We should, in the height of summer, have an eggnog show. All right. So it's like I'm thinking, are you supposed to have eggnog?
That's a bad
after
idea.
Christmas, but maybe you are before New Year's.
Although I do like the rebellion kind of idea of that. Like, it used to be that I wasn't allowed to cook chili unless it was 40 degrees or less.
Really?
Yeah. In my first marriage.
That is the best time. But I think
I cooked it like this summer because it was like 100. It went below 100. So I posted, it's so chilly and so cold. I had to make chili.
We had to make chili because it was under 100 degrees. That's a good rule. I like that one. That'll be my New Year's resolution. I'll make chili if it's less than 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's always like if you've had to shovel snow, the chili is the best thing to come inside to, right?
Oh yeah,
and an actual wood-based fire.
I say that like I shovel snow.
Yeah.
We don't shovel snow here.
Cocoa.
Well, we were in Washington State for so long we didn't have to do anything for a while, and it hasn't been snowing here much. It only snowed twice here in Kansas, so we're like,
oh really?
Yeah, But let's see here. Mr. Level Up. And I'm not finding a 12. I was trying to look up what it means. I would bet.
Oh, that's what he did. He looked up a tarot card.
I'll bet that card also references the Knights of the Round Table. I don't know that, but I'll bet.
Tell you.
I would bet that. Yeah.
Every time you say Knights of the Round Table, I get the Monty Python song in my head.
Right on. It is your Joe. Let's see here. I'm applying to be a host. I can mesh well with this. Do it. Let's get Mr. Level Up. You guys okay with that? We vote? I'm sure. Let's do it.
I think
all right. So maybe starting the new year. All right. I don't know who Mr. Level Up is, right? Okay, so that's everything. So we got winners and losers, right? Did we cover all of it?
I think so.
All right, we move to the next. We're in an hour 13. We can't go over 2 hours because
we haven't hit current events yet.
Yeah. Yes.
I try to sneak some in.
Yes. Okay, so we'll try to do this one quickly. Each guest and host, so everybody in the chat, please do this now. Provide a top positive and a top negative prediction for 2024. And for bonus points, go to the Den post, which is for this show, and make your prediction in there. So it'll be on chain for posterity and for bragging rights. You can always delete it if you're totally wrong if you want. But at least it'll be on chain. So, and you know, we won't tie anyone to the negative side of this. It's only if you got it right that we will bring it up.
No, make them be accountable for both sides. Myself included.
But either way, the thing is, if you delete it, it'll show that you deleted it, which means it was wrong by default. Okay, so and there's nothing wrong with an incorrect prediction. Okay, so
this we'll revisit these next year on the last show of this year. Mm-hmm. That'll be fun.
Sure. Or potentially, if someone reminds us when they do happen, or when they don't happen. Don't happen is the harder one, right? But some predictions you can prove the negative, I guess. So when the opposite happens. So, Sean, top positive and negative prediction 2024.
I'm going to go very broad because they're it's kind of both sides of the same coin. I think the positive will be this will be crypto's biggest year for education, acceptance. I can't believe I just forgot the word. You know, when adoption, biggest year for adoption. But also, this is the year that the banks and everyone else really try to get control. I don't think they're going to fight. The fight's over, I think. Which this isn't. I mean, we all thought that it was going to be a fight and we'd win. That's not how they work. It's like they see that, okay, we can't win, so let's control. So I think they're going to move for the most control in 2024. Hopefully we've woken enough people up and we can fight back against them and against it. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. This is it. We're going this way. You can be part of our train, or you can, go away.
All right. Okay, so that's positive. What's the negative?
Positive and negative. Positive is that more people will come in. Adoption. Negative is that this is the biggest year that they try to get control and fight against.
That's both. Okay, perfect, yeah. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Besides the point, I think this is the biggest year for both of them.
Okay. Lisa.
Oh my gosh. Positive. I think that 2024 could be the I don't want to say the death of the US dollar, because I think it will be recreated and the normies might not even notice, but I think we will go to gold or silver backed digital currency in some form. And I think that's a good thing for we the people and all the transitions in between that. The negative thing is that there's going to be a lot of people struggling, going through breaking down their cognitive dissonance. It's going to be a very painful experience for people as they understand that their government isn't protecting them. They don't really live in a little safe bubble. They have to take responsibility for themselves and their family, and to have, if you want freedom, then you have to choose it. You can't be passive in that. And that's the point of the world that we're at. I was talking with a guy in line this morning, and he works for a college. He works for their the athletics, the IT in the athletics. And so talking a little bit about stuff, and he was like, oh yeah, this game, the NCAA game, was one of the biggest games that people look for now, because there was a lawsuit and they stopped doing that because the players didn't get paid back then on these video games. And I said, yeah, because their IP was getting stolen. Their intellectual property was getting stolen. And so because our money has made us slaves, I guess that's where, so I don't even know. Maybe we'll be able to, I wanted to say two good things.
Okay, that's fine. You can do that.
Maybe we'll get out of slavery, and we will recognize the need to protect our own IP, our name. What do they call it? NIL, name, image, and likeness. And that's what these athletes are starting to do. Of course, some of them are defaulting and getting an agent. And, if you're going to take the lazy way out, then you're putting a middleman in there for you. And he's not looking out for you. He's looking out for himself. And that's what happens with financial advisors. No offense, Sean. And that's what happens with all the middlemen. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for themselves. So hopefully we all figure it out. We take responsibility, and we all take possession of our IP.
And do good.
And do good with it.
Not a financial advisor anymore.
Yes. So for me, and Lisa stole mine, but my prediction for 2024 is dollar collapse by the third quarter. And, I don't know what that means. I don't know if it'll be replaced with something worse, CBDC or something else.
Is that good or bad?
Both. That's my both.
Yeah.
Because it's the beginning of breaking the chains. Yeah, I don't think that we'll get through 2024 and be free yet, but it will be the point where everybody realizes, holy shit, we're gonna have to fight for this. Where and by the way, it's a weird thing, because you could say Americans, we've essentially been the somewhat the benefactors. We're not the people reaping in the gold in this process, but we've had cheap food. We've had, and it's turned into really bad stuff for us. We've had, it's the weak men period, right?
But that's our fault. That's our fault here in our little country, little corner of the globe.
But
it's not like that in Europe.
It's like saying, look, because most people, normal people, they're not, they don't understand how money works. It's definitively, you can see they don't understand how the banking system works or any of that. We've essentially been, it's like blaming the slaves, Sean. You can't say we are. It's like we were tricked. It's like you're freaking somebody who's thrown into this.
On the food thing,
I was born.
That's the one thing that other countries that we've made fun of since we were in our inception, because they just have no authority. They don't put up with it. Most of our food, not just a lot, but most of our food is illegal in other countries.
Not just food, Sean.
And we make it illegal to do, like, you can't buy real cheese here.
Yeah.
You can't I hear so many times, and we had a friend of a family neighbor, I guess, who had chickens, right? And you talked about eggs before. And so we, I can't remember what it was. We gave her something and she gave us some eggs, right? And they're like, oh, okay, this is cool. So we try them. And they told us now don't wash them until right before you use them, and you just leave them on the counter. You don't need to put them in a fridge. And
they're
like,
good for 2 months. Yeah,
it's like, what? So, and they did taste better, and they were the nutrients color. Like you can see they were darker color. You can see it. And you tell your kids they tasted better. If you noticed anything, it was that they were a little richer, but it was not like I was like, oh, what is this? It's not like I eaten an ostrich egg or something where it's going to be gamey or something, right? They
say that the reason that they do that is so people don't question it. It's like, why is this farm fresh egg look different than this one?
Yeah.
Why does it taste different? Why is it a little bigger?
I think though they make so many mistakes because I think the beginning of their mistake was introducing and making prevalent the brown eggs. Because I remember when that first started, I was like, wait, do they taste different? It's like, no, there's better on they're free range or something. Like, okay, right. That kind of like opened my mind to be like, well, yeah, so why? And I've not tried duck eggs and I've not tried any of the other things, like quail eggs or any of that. I hear if you have an apartment in New York, you can raise quails and have little bitty eggs and be kind of, they're all it's cute, it's weird stuff.
Yeah, you only need, I think it's like 3 square feet for to raise like 2 quail to have eggs.
Yeah, that's going to happen a lot, I think. But in our neighborhood, they don't want anybody to have chickens. But it's like freaking Bellevue in Seattle, right? That there was a family across the street that had chickens, right? And occasionally you'd see them, they'd get out and they'd be running around. You're like, whoa, they have chickens. It's like they come after us for not having a freaking license on our dogs. Some old lady comes and visits, and we're new in the neighborhood. It's like, oh yeah, hey, we have kids. Kind of introducing herself, some sweet old lady. And what do we know? We get a letter in the mail. You need to license your dogs.
What?
Yeah. She turned us in. She's a freaking mole for the system. It's like horrible.
Buddy.
They program people. And so you can't blame the slaves. You can blame the people who are now awake to the reality for not actively doing something or telling others. Your role might literally just being to passively and politely red pill your family over dinners, or invite somebody over for dinner and what do you think about this, and then and it might, I've had that go bad before in some cases, but it's still, that's my role, is like I have to be the one to subtly or not so subtly open people's eyes to, because frankly you can't pound in an idea like that. You have to tell them something that leads to some cognitive dissonance, so that in their
let them start asking the questions.
Yeah, they'll start asking the questions.
I
They'll
think
look up something.
We're gonna have to switch to the way vegetarians used to be when we were kids. It wasn't like you got to be vegetarian. Like, oh no, I don't want to eat that. I'm vegetarian because this and this happens in farms. Like that happens in farm. What are you talking about? Oh yeah,
yeah. Because I would
like pulling it as a financial advisor. That was like the best thing we could do. Is you go over, oh, this is great, this investment here, blah blah blah. You do this is paying this much, but I don't know if you can have it. So, like, what? And, like, I don't know if you're serious about this. Maybe you don't get that one. Well, let's look at something. Well, no, I want to know about that. No, don't forget. I shouldn't have mentioned that. That's for real investors.
I will tell you,
like, please, here's my check. Just whatever I have to do, let me put money in that.
That's funny. Well, and Bitcoin was like that, I'm sure, right? I remember talking to finance guys, East Coast, telling them, yeah, I'm buying Bitcoin. It was at the time $14 to $30, and I'd been buying it since it was $2, and they're like, that's BS. That's just fake money. It do me nothing. And these are guys that I know now. They realize that. I'm like, dude, you had money back then. I didn't have money back then. These people had money and they weren't buying it. And but I did retire some people. I did give advice to, and not financial advice, but just, hey, this is what it is. This is what I think, and I'm just a nerd, right? And there's some people who retired based upon what I told them back then because they were smart. But anyway, I do think also the hard thing, and I don't know how best to do this. Maybe you guys can tell me. I'll say I think the dollar is going to collapse, and I've been everybody who I say is like, you've been saying that for 10 years, and I'm like, yeah.
I'm jaded. I'm too jaded now. I am.
Yeah.
I think the Fed note is going to collapse. So there's already states that are, Texas is one of them, putting together laws in place to have their own state gold and silver or whatever basket of assets that they have backed digital currency. And we're seeing this, conversation about divorce, national divorce. I mean, we're watching the thing with Trump with, there's, I think 10 states right now that are threatening to take Biden off the ballot because, well, you did it to Trump, so we're going to do it to him, or say that he's not eligible because of all of
the now. Michigan,
the shenanigans with his family.
Colorado, they've just went for the Supreme Court. The state, not the RNC, the state is bringing it to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Every other states now are just like, no, that's silly. We're not even going to.
No, not other states are not saying that's silly. Other states are getting involved and doing some of the same things.
A lot of like Michigan, they brought it and they're like, no, this is stupid. You're not even going to be allowed to bring this up.
Because it doesn't have standing to be heard at that. It's a federal issue, so it needs to go to the federal Supreme Court for that issue. But what is I think could happen? Maybe this is another prediction. I don't know. I'm not really good at predictions. I'm just saying what I think. I smell something there, but there's a there with when we saw what happened with Wade versus Roe, people thought it was about one thing. It wasn't about that. It was about giving the rights back to the states.
Yeah, and which like stepping back.
The amendment is what is being discussed with this Trump issue being on the ballot or not. And if people look into the history of the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment is what made us all slaves. And so if this issue gets brought up to the Supreme Court on a federal level and gets rolled back, we all may be free from the slavery that the USA Inc. Put us in. And I think that could coincide with that death of the US Fed note, which is now being eaten because of bond failures happening through the Treasury and all that.
Someone put in chat that we go negative bonds and it would kill it. But didn't we go negative bonds like a couple of years ago?
I don't know.
I don't understand any of that stuff. I know the interesting thing that relates to like Weimar levels currency stuff is that they're instead of doing what naturally they would need to do, which is raise the interest rates and collapse the housing market to accommodate what they've done in the past, they're now going to just like, nope, there's an election year, we can't do that, so we're just going to keep printing.
See, I'm jaded now. I don't think the dollar's going to. I mean, I literally think they would be like, hey, Satan is real and he's our leader, so but he's going to save the dollar. I think they'll do anything. They're
going. I do think they will, but I think it will still collapse.
Aliens will come here and they're back in the U.S. dollar with their squib knots.
We can predict that, whether it's Project Bluebeam or whether it's really Jesus coming, that's probably going to happen too.
I'm not surprised that whatever that it will, they will keep it going until people just walk away. Like, I don't think it's going to implode. I think people are going to be like, no.
All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's see here.
People are already not accepting the Fed.
Mr. Level Up. We need to figure that out. So we'll figure that out. You guys know how to contact Mr. Level Up. We'll figure that out and get him on. Him or her. Mr. It says. So then precious metals and crypto up 50%. Real estate and stock market down 50%. I think up and down because I think real estate will probably go up because there's so many dollars. But I do think precious metals will go up. Here's one thing that I'm actually very interested in. Everything points in my mind that crypto is going to collapse with the stock market and not the other way around, which is, scary, but it's that
we saw it in COVID. And people were shocked. They're like, no, we're separate. And we're like, no,
we're not, right? Let's see here. Theta price. Okay. US Treasury bonds will fail. So I do. Yeah. We're already seeing the Russians, the Chinese, the all of these with the BRIC, that they're all pushing to not do the petrodollar thing anymore. So
it's not just that. Jim Willey came on my show and talked about the whole bond thing, and he said right now the U.S. is sending money to some of these other countries to buy our treasury bonds. So we're buying them back ourselves, but by sending money to other countries.
When you have unlimited money, evil things are possible, whatever you want to do. So let's see here. Yeah. This is like these things. Anybody watching current events can get a feel for. There's some crazy stuff happening for whatever reasons. Let's see here.
Yeah, I heard that
when you talk about war, there's so many things. We have this war, that war, political war. I had kind of a realization this week about the United States and our internal conflicts and where we're at. And I think we should kind of accept it. But we'll talk about that in the 15
we don't
minutes.
have much time. We don't have much time, so I'll try to get through this. Peg to gold, all that, CBDCs. Hope. I mean, if a CBDC was actually pegged to gold and actually had transparency, that could be. I will say, you could make
Yeah,
a
but it's not
CBDC
circle.
that would be, but it's not going to be what we get, and that's the issue. They don't want what could be done. Fed knows dead. All right, so all right. Do we go to? Okay, I'm gonna.
I will say the Russian textbooks now say that Trump lost the election in a rigged election in 2020. I saw that announced the other day. So is Russia more truthful than the U.S. in raising their children?
Oh, one last.
I think they are in a lot of ways, but I think that we get confused with, we fall into that trap of the government is the country, the government is the people, the president is the people, the people's. I think that like Putin is a terrible, terrible person, but I think that the Russian people are pretty woke when it comes to, or awake when it comes to what's going on.
And I will say, Sean, you tend to follow the narrative a lot of times. I'm interested in why some of that. It's like I don't know that he is. I know the propaganda says he is. I don't know that he is a good guy or anything. But at the same time,
he might be an okay guy now. But what he's done to get there, like stuff, is just. I mean, you know how he took power.
Yeah.
Many,
but at the same time,
9/11s.
I will say, and this is not financial advice, but probably the top thing to invest in my opinion, and I'm not doing it myself because I'm not good, is rope. Things to make rope, rope itself, rope futures. I'm joking. It's not financial advice. It's a utility now. It's utility, and they'll probably try to make
hemp is legal now, so they can invest in it while they're getting hung.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, that's the other huge thing I have to talk about. T-Mobile, they're on their website. They admit that they are they're going to start fining people for chat or something like this. It's like hate speech, something and something and something. They're going to start fining people if you use your text messaging or sending messages or whatever that they deem hate speech. I can't remember what the other word.
Same thing what PayPal and Venmo did too. And I don't know which one they had in their terms that if you
Venmo, because I can't get a Venmo app.
I canceled my PayPal when that happened. I had PayPal since the early days, and I just canceled it. It's like, people ask me, like, the kid's piano teacher is like, "Oh, you can pay this way." It's like, no, I can't.
Oh, that's the other prediction, that the satellites will be taken down and that we'll have to go to Mars and use Elon's.
Oh, that's the other thing. What did they call it? It's not a nuke, but it's a magnet.
Yeah, the blackout.
EMP,
solar flare.
Yeah, EMP thing. Sorry, I always forget what to call it. But I will tell you, I've done this. I would suggest other people do this. Go buy some cheap thumb drives. Some just USB thumb drives, cheap ones. There's several ways to do it. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but pull down the entire Gutenberg library. So if you go to Gutenberg, I think it's gutenberg.org, but you can search for it and find it. Essentially, it's all of the books of Western civilization, including some modern ones, mostly all public domain, I do believe, but online, free. You can download them in various formats, but text is the most obvious. So I downloaded the entire Gutenberg repository multiple ways in case one of them doesn't work, and I put them on thumb drives and I put them in a Faraday cage. So when it comes to and that happens, I'm going to have all the books. So they'll probably be worth something because nobody else will have them because they'll be destroyed.
Very wise.
I did the same thing. Do the same thing with your photos.
Heavy duty aluminum foil, not just aluminum foil for your Faraday cage.
Yeah, heavy duty no leaks, and I think it's probably less. Like you have to be less precise than a lot of people will tell you, likely, but nobody knows. So be as precise as you can.
Also,
but,
you get where you're at.
Yeah, you can get a public, you're
5 miles from the biggest military base in the world. Probably gonna be pretty hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, do you think that'll coincide with the April big eclipse that like all these cities are selling, the hotels are selling out where the eclipse is going to go over it or whatever?
I have that's an interesting, because we haven't gotten a hotel or anything. I'm expecting to drive and have to drive to wherever we're going to stay. But I want to take. See, we were in Washington State in 2017 when the sister eclipse happened. I'm going to call them that, right? Because it's a cross that intersects down in somewhere near Sean, right?
Near
But
Dallas or somewhere in Texas.
yeah, and so my theory is, look, it's all these crazy things happening. I will tell you, when we came out as Dragon Chain, we went to this private group because they were all crypto people, and I'm like, look, I've never done this, and I know crypto world is really crazy, and I was like, I don't know what I'm setting myself up for, but I know there's gonna be a lot of trolls, and I'm probably gonna be, crucified in public or something. So we went to this group to kind of get, advice. It's like, here's how it works. Here's what it is. It's very technical. And here's, our vision to get feedback. Right. And so, of course, the SEC is like, oh, you guys did this. It's like, we literally did this so that we could make sure we didn't miss anything, or we didn't want to, screw anybody or anything else. And we got really good. And it was funny because it was right after the big Bitcoin fork. So the whole culture was so crazy up and down at that point, and everybody's like, oh, I'm not doing anything, right? And so we put this thing out saying, look, we're going to put out so you guys can, buy in early on these tokens, same rules as everybody else, but you get some bonus because you have to give us feedback. We have to know. And we got amazing feedback. We got really good responses to what we did good. We got really good questions. We're like, oh, we haven't answered that. So we, included that. And when we first put it out there, we had to cancel it and delay it because it was right in the middle of that fork. So we put it out and nobody was really doing anything. Nobody was really doing anything. And, here we are in Washington State, and we only had a partial. I didn't drive the kids down to Oregon to get the full. So we had the partial eclipse. I remember, outside with the kids, projecting
Looking
it
on
onto
the
the
ground,
garage door, and and looking at. I wanted to show, because I had seen a partial before. I wanted them to see the shadow of the tree leaves, right, where everyone is a little
a little
crescent.
kitten.
And when I came in, everything just blew up. Right. So the whole thing gets sold out immediately after that. And so that's why on the Dragon Chain family crest, on the shield, there is an eclipse.
Oh, interesting.
So that's the beginning of it. And here we are. The sister of that eclipse in the US is in April of 2024, Year of the Dragon.
My buddy lives in Oregon, and now when you said that, makes a lot more sense. You've been like kind of obsessed with it, and like when he came down from Washington, Oregon, when I was in the hospital, and he was like, "Yeah, I bought an RV," and I think it was because it was hard. He bought an RV for it. He wants to take my kids, and we'll all go like the eclipses. I'm like, "There's an eclipse coming."
He's like, Lisa didn't tell me yet.
How much on that? You bought an RV?
Well,
like,
I want to know somebody who is either going to have or rent a jet. And I don't know the speed that it travels, but imagine if you could follow the path in a jet or something, right? Why wouldn't they charter a jet to follow the path? That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, my brain doesn't work like that.
Anyway, just Paul in the chat. I bought goldbacks. My dog ate my goldbacks. My dog.
Oh no.
Goldbacks. Yeah.
Wait. Goldbacks, like the
money, legal tender in like Utah, a lot of states, Nevada.
Really?
Yeah, it's gold in the plastic money, right?
Huh.
But there's gold in it, whatever denomination at the time to what the amount is there. And I've watched people like set it on fire, burn it down, and there's literally like a $10 bill or $100 bill. They get that much gold.
Wow. I wanted to get, I've never gotten it. There's a bar that you can get that's perforated, so you can essentially break off. And I don't know if they have silver also, but I know they have gold where you can break off little.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very small amounts, for use later, which is pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
You can also get goldbacks and grams of gold, silver, and platinum at moneymetals.com. Use the code Sean.
You guys are so
Get
fun.
yourself free silver.
I like it. All right.
$100.
All right, I'll do that. Where are they based? What state are they in?
Money Metals, I think they're in Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were in Texas, but that was a different company I used.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay, so very short version.
Take crypto.
Current events. Short version current events. So anything you guys
That
have?
T-Mobile thing was like shocking to me.
I wanted to say the T-Mobile thing. I think I slipped in all the other ones during the show.
I came to a realization this week.
Oh, I do.
With
Have
the movie coming out with the Civil War, everyone's talking about it's become. I think we're supposed to have a Civil War. We're being pushed towards a Civil War.
Yeah.
Everything in the media, everything. I mean, it looks kind of, and there's a blasé attitude, like with Area 51, with aliens, with everything that they right before they came out and admitted to it, they kind of made it like it's not a big deal. Yeah, everybody knows it's true. That's how they're talking about the Civil War, which is frightening and terrible. But I think we're in it. We're in a Civil War.
We are in it. I totally agree with you.
I think like Cold War with Russia. We were at war with Russia for all that time. We just called it a Cold War. We're having a Civil War. There's families are fighting families. Everything is adversarial. People hate each other for like the dumbest reasons. And I don't mean like they don't agree. That's not even in the realm anymore. They literal hate.
Also, Sean, lines are being drawn just like in a civil war. Remember how, we were talking about the currencies in different states that are coming up with, I think there's 29 states now that are coming up with their own gold or silver backed digital currency or have made gold or silver legal tender. I'm sorry. I know Texas is the only one that I know of that's making the digital version. But you had told me about one of the states where like people aren't really talking about it, but like, some town is trying to
Oregon, the greater Oregon
is trying to leave this one town.
Other county, a
county. Okay. Then the other issue that I wanted to bring up for current events is there's been the Wbrt thing that I've been following here in Oklahoma, which is all about the tribal lands and who has jurisdiction. And I think that's going to be another big issue is jurisdiction. And hopefully we all become one and realize we're all the human race and we shouldn't need all this, but the remains of thousands of Native Americans were returned to tribes this year. Apple posts Indian names of cities on Google Maps or Apple Maps in Oklahoma in Cherokee tribe land. If you look up in Oklahoma and go on Apple Maps, it says like Stillwell, and then it has this weird language below it. That's Cherokee for the word for Stillwell. Flags displayed outside Oklahoma Capitol honors tribal nations. Tribe buys back 10,000 acres of Northern California in landmark deal. Like this, it's all being righted again. I think all those treaties that were written when we came here in the beginning and we didn't honor them or whatever happened.
They. Yeah.
All of us.
I would have honored them.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say, I don't know which
I will
side
never
of the fence I'm on because my husband.
I will never accept blame for those things that happened before I was even born, right?
Yeah, so, I have a question on that though, because there's something I don't know about. I grew up in the North where we don't have like reservations or anything. And like back when that stuff happened, the United States was very much states' rights. Each state was more like a country. How did those treaties work?
Those were still federal.
With the federal level,
that wasn't the state.
I think it was federal, and I think they paid off their tribe leaders or council.
But what happens then if Oklahoma and Texas secede and become our own country? What happens to all the treaties that were made for do we say, no, this is a whole new country? Because now you're talking like third world, Africa kind of problems.
At that point, my assumption, and this is, I always assume honor, but you never know. My assumption would be that they hold that land. It's actually their land now, and maybe at that point too, they would be given the option to become their own country as well. Because you imagine if they had their own country, they could. My opinion, other than the fact that they themselves, even though they hold that land, don't actually have control of that land because they can't issue their own currencies. Apparently, they can't. They can do things that various organized crime cartels are making money on. Which is they can have casinos because they somebody's paid off and whatever, but
Right.
they
That's
can't actually. You imagine if one of them decided to have a nuclear program, or you imagine if one of them decided to say, hey, there are no federal taxes here. Come in and put your business here. Domicile your business on our
Those are things
land.
I just didn't understand why they don't do. Like
the other big thing that came in line with all this news was that this weekend there was a Casey alert, which got all the Oklahoma people going, what the heck's a Casey alert? What the heck's a Casey alert? Well, a Casey alert is a missing Native American person or indigenous person, and it was named after this one famous case of a missing Native American person. So if they start releasing the true numbers of missing children and women in the indigenous population, it will blow people's minds. The tribes have been hiding it for years to keep getting money from the Fed. They want to keep getting their dollars so they don't report people missing. Allegedly.
To bring up about Texas, because I've talked about this, and this is like widely known. Texas is its own country. We're one of the few states that are not a welfare state, which means we give way more money to the federal government than we take away and have forever. Everyone talks about Brazil as like a huge economic powerhouse, and Texas's economy is bigger than Brazil. By country, we're like the 7th biggest country when it comes to like GDP, and so we're like massive. Like we're like Germany, we're like the United States. But everyone talks about Texas and how big it is. But if we were to remove Texas, what would that do to the United States standing then with all of those numbers? Because we always talk about Texas on its own, standalone, compare it to, Brazil and other countries and other economies. But what would that do to the U.S. economy?
What does that leave?
To remove Texas? I think it would drop it like massively. There's no way you can get around that. Just like if it took away California.
Yeah, but and it's assuming that because it's so, and I've seen being in Dragon Chain, I've seen how a lot of the stuff works that I would have never thought. So much of it's artificial. So the measures, how much human trafficking happens in Texas because all that money's there. I know Super Bowl stuff happens and tons of that stuff goes on down there, and it happens elsewhere too. But it was just like it's all crazy. I don't know. Anyway, and some really dark stuff from Christ Brings a Sword. It's like, by the way, there's some similar stuff that popped up, and it's like I think collapse is coming. I think we're all kind of needed to be in there. And somebody on Twitter was like, "You're wrong. This is going to happen because of something posted in Revelation." I'm like, so God can't act through people if you believe in that. I don't know. I think it's all kind of crazy myself.
That's kind of
not crazy
the dumb guy that drowns and goes to heaven and he tells God, "Why didn't you go save me?" Well, I sent a helicopter and I sent a guy on a boat and I sent a whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was waiting for you to show up in a little flowy ground. Like, we the people. We're here to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if last week I talked about the laws in Texas that were passed by the governor. About
no. I don't think so.
They're huge. They go against the federal laws. First off, there was one law that they're building the wall, but just to check it. So basically, but we're telling, literally, he said, "Screw Arizona, screw New Mexico. We don't care. That's not Texas. The cartel's going to go there because one of the reporters is like, how do you know this is going to work? It's like, oh, whenever we put troops here, whenever we do this." Instead of having this headache of messing with troops, they just go down further and they come in over there, and they're like, well, then they'll go to Arizona, and he's like, yeah, and like in New Mexico, it's like they'll go to Arizona and New Mexico. I'm like, well, isn't that just moving the problem? And he's like, this is Texas. They won't be in Texas. whatever. But the other one is if you come across the border in Texas, it's against the law. You get arrested and you get sent back. If you come across the border a second time, it's a minimum 10-year sentence in prison. No, there's nothing. No, do not pass go. It's immediate 10 years. But for Texas citizens, even if you're just a rancher and you like just
Turn the
allow
other cheek. Yeah.
turn away, 5 years minimum first time period. If you have a stash out or something, 5-year minimum.
We have 6.5 minutes left. So you guys want to say anything at the end? Do you have anything to cover? Sorry, interrupt.
No, you're good.
I just realized time.
But I think that's part of like we're talking about how states are moving to kind of almost closing the borders on themselves. You know.
I think it's a good thing in the end for them to recognize that, hey, the state is a state. It's education system confused everybody to say, oh, a country is like the U.S. is like France. It's like, no, France is like Texas, right? Or, it's like that's a more accurate way.
The U.S. is like the EU.
Yes.
What I would say.
It's like it should be. I mean, it is, I guess. And we're about to see. So this year's going to be interesting in the very least, I think. So,
for those of us that survive it.
Yeah. So what's going on this week, Sean? Anything worthwhile to bring up?
Yeah, I got some show. Check out me and Lisa on Tuesdays. True Tuesday first half shows on her channel, second half shows on my channel. Subscribe to both channels, hit like button, all that. Like I should have this week. We should have a Crypto Rednecks. My buddy's been sick with the super flu, plus traveling all over the place. But yeah, and then I think that's about it.
Right on. Okay, Lisa.
I've got my show with Sean every Tuesday. I'm here every Thursday morning, and then happy hour on Fridays on my channel, as well as I launched a channel for called The Mighty Merchants, where I have a little eBay and Etsy store, and I'm like selling my stuff that I find. Most of it's like Americana stuff or vintage, like made in USA kind of stuff. And I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. And for me, watch us again next week. I'm going to try to get a few things out there. I'm trying to work on something to talk to. And I guess maybe I shouldn't announce it until I have it for sure. Talk to somebody important on just some random broadcast. Wouldn't be a part of the regular shows. I'm trying to get on Sean and Lisa's show to do red pill things or something, or black pills, or maybe white pills, maybe whatever.
You would be welcome anytime. I love it.
Right on. And I don't know. Trying to, hopefully we can find some new format changes for the year with this show that might be fun to try out something random. And I think that's everything. So anyway, it was a great year. Thank you guys. And sorry Greg wasn't on, because he would have been great. John and Dave. But probably just I don't know what happened. I know Greg was. I'm almost certain he was going to be on. So
the holidays are crazy time for everybody.
Yeah, it is. So, but maybe we'll get his predictions next week, and we'll just have to make sure it's like, nope, you weren't here. You only get to well,
they could still put it in the
they could put it in, yes, they can
on the Den Post, and put it on chain.
More powerful there. So, and thanks everybody who was on who was watching, and all the comments here, some really good stuff. So what should I leave with? I think I know I'm going to leave with. I don't know if it's
that McAfee.
Yes, there you go. That's what I was going to do. Yeah. So all right, here we go. And you guys stick around, because I want to ask you something.
I have a question for you as well.
Right on. Okay, I'll be here.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.